The ancient stone walls of the KnightFaLL Abbey loomed in the distance, blackened by time and shadow, a forgotten relic of the Order's former glory. Master Knight Kalen and his apprentice Adric had traveled for days, driven only by fragmented visions claiming that the key to restoring the Order's power lay within the Abbey's cursed halls. Kalen stood at the crest of the hill, gazing upon the Abbey with a mixture of nostalgia and dread. The wind whispered through the dying trees, carrying with it the scent of decay and something far darker. His armor, battered and worn, reflected the last rays of the setting sun. Adric, younger by decades but already showing signs of a seasoned warrior, stood beside him, his hand resting on the hilt of his sword. "Master, do you think the Abbey can be reclaimed?" Adric asked, his voice filled with hope but tinged with uncertainty. Kalen glanced at his apprentice, seeing the boy who had become a man under his tutelage. "The Abbey was once a place of great power, Adric, but it has been lost to the darkness for generations. If we are to reclaim it, you must be prepared to face not just the creatures within it, but the shadows in your own heart." Adric nodded, though his gaze remained fixed on the foreboding structure ahead. "I am ready, Master." With a final nod, Kalen led the way up the hill and onto the path where the KnightFaLL Abbey lay. The closer they drew, the more oppressive the atmosphere became. The air seemed to therm with malevolence, and Adric could feel the weight of countless eyes watching them from the shadows. As they approached the ancient gates, Kalen paused, noticing his apprentice's concern, allowing himself just a small smile, though it was masking his own worries. "Remember, a true knight of the Order does not only fight with steel, but with heart and mind. Fear will only try to consume you, Adric, but courage will see you through this. Trust in the light of radiance, and it will guide you." Adric swallowed hard and nodded again. Kalen pushed open the creaking iron gates, and they stepped into the courtyard. The Abbey's interior was a maze of crumbling stone corridors and desecrated halls, the air thick with the scent of death and brimstone. Torchlight flickered weakly against the cold stone, casting long, eerie shadows that danced across the halls. The first attack came swiftly. A hulking, grotesque creature, all fangs and claws, lunged from the darkness. Adric barely had time to raise his shield before it struck. The impact sent him staggering back, but Kalen was already there, his sword flashing in the dim light as he dispatched the creature with a single, precise blow. "Stay close, Adric," Kalen instructed, his voice calm despite the dangers. "The Abbey is home to more than just beasts. There are darker, more evil things here, remnants of the Order's past." As they ventured deeper, Adric could feel the Abbey's malevolent presence growing stronger. The walls seemed to pulse with a sinister energy, and whispers echoed through the corridors, speaking in a language he could not understand. Kalen remained vigilant, guiding his apprentice with careful words and steady hands. They came upon the Abbey's central chamber, where a shattered altar stood as a testament to the Order's fall. The room was filled with the twisted remains of what had once been knights, their armor rusted and broken, their bodies long since decayed. "It was here that the Order was betrayed," Kalen said quietly, his voice heavy with sorrow. "Sarafan, one of our own, fell to the darkness and led the demons to this sacred place. It was his ambition and pride that caused the Order's downfall." Adric looked around, his heart heavy with the weight of history. "What happened to Sarafan?" "He was defeated, but not destroyed," Kalen replied. "His soul is bound to this place, corrupted and twisted by the darkness he embraced. If we are to cleanse the Abbey, we must confront him. As if summoned by Kaelin's words, a figure emerged from the shadows. It was a knight, clad in ancient armor, but his form was wreathed in shadow and his eyes burned of unnatural fire. Seraphan. "You have come to die." Seraphan's voice echoed through the chamber, cold and hollow. "Just as those before you." Kaelin stepped forward, his sword drawn. "We have come to end your torment, Seraphan. The Order will rise again." Seraphan laughed, a sound like metal scraping against stone. "The Order is dead. It died with me." The battle that followed was fierce and brutal. Seraphan moved with inhuman speed, his blade a blur as he struck at Kaelin and Adric. The Master Knight fought with the skill and precision of a seasoned warrior, but even he was hard-pressed to keep up with the fallen knight's ferocity. Adric fought bravely as well. His training guided his hand, but he could feel the darkness pressing in on him, threatening to overwhelm his senses. "Do not give in to fear, Adric," Kaelin shouted as he parried another of Seraphan's blows. "Remember what I taught you." Drawing upon his training, Adric steadied his breathing and focused his mind. He could feel the power of radiance within him, a faint but steady light that pushed back against the darkness. With renewed resolve, he joined Kaelin in the fight, their swords striking in unison as they forced Seraphan back. But Seraphan was not so easily defeated. As the battle raged on, the fallen knight unleashed a wave of dark energy that sent both Kaelin and Adric crashing to the ground. Kaelin struggled to his feet, but the toll of the battle was evident in his labored breathing and the bloodstain on his armor. "Master!" Adric cried out, rushing to his side. Kaelin placed a hand on his apprentice's shoulder. "Adric, listen to me. You must finish this. The Order depends on it." Before Adric could respond, a deafening roar shook the Abbey. The demons that had once been bound within its walls were now free, pouring out of the shadows like a tide of darkness. Seraphan stood at their head, his laughter echoing through the chamber. Kaelin raised his sword one final time, determination in his eyes. "Go, Adric! Protect Brazilian! I will hold Seraphan here!" Adric hesitated, his heart torn. "But Master, I can't leave you!" "You must," Kaelin insisted, his voice firm. "The people of Brazilian need you. The Order needs you. Now go!" With tears in his eyes and blood streaming down his face, Adric turned and fled the Abbey, his heart heavy with grief. As he ran, he could hear the sounds of the battle behind him, Kaelin's defiant shouts mingling with the roars of the demons. But he did not stop. He could not. Brazilian was under attack when Adric arrived, the demons swarming through the streets, spreading terror and death. The townsfolk fought bravely, but they were no match for the horde that descended upon them. Adric felt despair threaten to consume him, but then, in that moment of darkness, he felt a presence, a warmth that filled him with light. "Radiance?" he whispered, falling to his knees as a vision of the goddess appeared before him, her form bathed in a brilliant light. "Adric," Radiance's voice was like a soothing melody. "The time has come for you to fulfill your destiny. I have watched over you and guided your path, and now I shall grant you the power to save your people. But know that this power comes at a cost." Adric nodded, tears streaming down his face. "I am ready." Radiance extended her hand, and Adric felt a surge of energy course through him, filling him with a strength and resolve unlike anything he had ever known. His sword blazed with holy light as he rose to his feet, the power of the goddess flowing through him. With a cry of defiance, Adric charged into the fray, his sword cutting through the demons with ease. He moved with a speed and grace that was beyond mortal limits, his every strike filled with divine power of radiance. The demons fell before him, their darkness consumed by his light. But even as he fought, Adric knew that his power was fleeting. It was a gift, but one that came with a heavy price. The battle raged on, and with each demon he defeated, Adric could feel his strength waning. The light within him began to fade, but still he fought on, determined to protect the people of Brasilian. Finally, as the last of the demons fell, Adric collapsed to his knees, his body spent. The townsfolk, awed by his bravery and the divine light that filled the streets, rushed to his side. "Adric, you saved us," one of the townsfolk whispered. But Adric did not hear their words, his vision blurred and the world around him beginning to fade. In his final moments, he saw the face of his master, KnightFaLL, smiling down upon him, proud of the man he had become. The following morning, the dawn broke over Brasilian, the first rays of sunlight chasing away the darkness that had plagued the city for so long. The townsfolk, weary and battered, gathered in the square, where they had laid the bodies of Master KnightFaLL and Adric to rest. The battle was over, but the memory of the sacrifice would live on forever. As the people paid their respects, a young girl with white hair stepped forward, her eyes wide with wonder. She approached Adric's body, where his sword lay across the stone, a blue gem set into its hilt. The girl, drawn by something she couldn't explain, reached out and placed her hand on the sword. For a moment, the gem glowed, a soft blue light pulsing through it. The girl's eyes seemed to widen as the light reflected in them, a spark of something greater igniting within her soul. She stared at the sword in awe, unaware of the fading crowd around her. "Ikosa," a voice called softly, and the girl turned to see her father standing behind her. The man placed a gentle hand on his daughter's shoulder. "Come now." As they walked away, the young child glanced back at the sword, but the gem no longer glowed. Yet, in the girl's eye, a bright light shone, a light that would one day grow into something more powerful than she could possibly imagine. Hope.